Greetings everyone. I just wanted to make a quick video showing some of my favorite Star Trek props. Anyone who follows Star Trek the original series, I mean their goal is to own a landing party set consisting of a communicator, phaser, and tricorder. And these three props I have to say I'm most proud of because I built them myself and they came out really nice, and I'm very happy with them. It took me years actually to source the materials for it, and took me even a longer time to acquire the skills to build these props. So but I finally have finished all three, and finished all three to the point where I'm happy with them. So I'm going to show you, real quickly, one by one. First we'll go over the tricorder. Okay, a few years ago a community member made some tricorder shells, and he did a fantastic job duplicating the shape and size of the tricorder shells we see on the original series. And another member also fabricated a kit, laser cut kit of a metal frame to go with it, because without one you can't have the other. So okay, we flip this up, and there's the control panel. Now, different builders make their control panels all different ways. I made mine from vintage watch crowns. Alright, these are very hard to find. The one on the right is a green one, which is hard to find. The red one in the center, also hard to find. But the one on the left is impossible to find. That's a violet one. I don't know if you could see it. Hopefully you can. Alright, that's not blue, it's not purple, but violet. And I was very lucky to find that on eBay when I did, because I have never seen a watch crown that color before. Alright, they mostly come in blue. Those are pretty easy to find. But the greens, reds are very difficult, and the violets are impossible. Okay, so we'll open up the top compartment. Okay, on the inside we have a 1960s Jewelorama disc. Okay, a holographic disc which was used on one version of the Star Trek Communicator. Best seen in the episode Charlie X. If you look at tricorder screenshots from the episode Charlie X, you could really see this Jewelorama disc really well. Okay, I put magnets inside the doors so everything snaps shut. I see here. Like that. And during the original series, we never really see what's in the bottom compartment, so you could pretty much do anything you want, being there's no proof either way what's in there. So I used a piece of Kydex, and I made a panel, a little custom panel I came up with. I used a graphic, a piece of plastic for a screen, and I put some T-hubs in there with some jewels, make a little control panel. So I guess, it adds some functionality. Oh, also I forgot to mention the knobs. 1960s T-hubs, jet T-hubs of the correct type that were used on the original prop. Also very difficult to find. I also sourced the correct size dip switch on top. Okay, at one time the prop masters were considering putting something electrical within the tricorder, whether it be a motor to drive the graphic, or lights or sound, whatever it was, but they clearly abandoned the idea. So they just left the switch there with the wires. And then in the back panel flips down, just like on the original. Okay, there actually should be a screw there to hold it closed, but, I like flipping this up and down whenever I take this out to play with it. So, oh, and the leather strap was also handmade for this kit. This is not a cheap vinyl or plastic strap. This is real genuine leather, and the guy who made it did a beautiful job on it. So as you can see, this is really a high-end tricorder build. Came out really nice. I'm very happy with it. Okay, now we'll go to the phaser. Okay, this is a full hero build. Okay, this phaser was built to duplicate the only known surviving hero phaser, which is in the hands of Star Trek collector Greg Jean. So this is a fully heroized version of the phaser. Okay, the back fins, the rear fins here are metal, all metal parts, nozzle, side, dial, the fins, they come out. The fins were hand cut by me. Everything was handmade on this. Okay, the metal grip comes out. The grip is made from a piece of 1-inch OD brass pipe, which was shaped into an oval in a vise, and then later on an electrical bakelite twist lock was epoxied into the top, and then on the other side an end cap was fabricated with a tang nut. You know, inside here you got a threaded rod, you have battery springs, battery tabs, wiring in there, so there's a bunch of internals going on within the grip, and there are 2 N-type batteries which power it, just like the original. So the grip is where the batteries are stored, and then when you plug it in, you got the female portion of the twist lock there, and then you plug it in, twist it, and it locks into place, and you push the trigger, and the tip lights up, just like the original. As we all know, the original did not have any sounds. All it did was light up like that. So when the actors pulled the trigger, you would see a little point of light. And then later on in the editing room where the film would be hanging down from rods or whatever, the special effects person would use his magnifying glass. He would see the lit tip on the film, and the special effects person would then know where to put his little laser beam, because he would see the tip lit up on the phaser. So that's where he would put the beam in. Okay. Yeah, it also has a functioning P1 release mechanism, which I built from scratch. Okay, and the top, you could see the U-yoke. When the phaser 1 is put into place, into its cradle, it pushes forward that U-yoke and then pushes the emitter out like that. Alright, let's take the shell off. Take the handle off. Alright, the shell is held on with a single Phillips head screw located here. And the rear fins in the back actually hold the rear of the shells together. So there's no screw on the back. So once you take that screw out, you could take off the hatch. Okay. And there it is. That's what the internals look like. Just like the Greg Jean Hero. Exactly. Okay, the 10 turn actually turns. I made a sleeve within a sleeve so that turned. I believe on the original this is fixed. So I thought it would be cool if that turned, so I just made it like that. So, okay, so when the P1 is inserted, it pushes this U-yoke forward, and then the emitter comes out like so. Okay, you see the spring that it's connected to? It expands and contracts. Okay, and then there's another spring right there for the tab for the P1 release. Okay, once I saw all the little contraptions inside this phaser, you know, on the original, I was hooked. I knew I had to build one of these. I was just fascinated by it. I mean, this is just a prime example of the prop ingenuity that was available in the 1960s. These prop guys were masters at what they did. I mean, just to think that somebody sat down and thought this all out and fit all these little things within this shell. I mean, there's only a limited amount of space in here. And it's amazing how much stuff they managed to do with the space that they had. Look at that. Okay. All right. And the P1 is also a full hero build. Okay. I put a red watch crown on there. Like I said before, those are very hard to find, so I thought it would be really cool to have a red watch crown on there. And when the sight goes up, the emitter comes out. And the same thing as before. Once the special effects person saw that little tip of light, he knew where to put his phaser beam. And there it is. Very cool. And finally we have the Communicator. Okay, this I believe is a one-of-a-kind replica. Okay, Now, I know that's a pretty bold statement considering how many replicas are out there. I mean, if you look on YouTube and you look at how many alpha replica communicators, alpha meaning that it's a hero where the graphic is animated, there are quite a few out there. A lot of guys have built them. But this, I believe, is one of a kind for the simple fact that it uses almost entirely vintage parts. Okay, so let's start with the shells. Okay, the plastic shells are vintage 1960s Kydex with the correct hair cell pattern. Now, anyone who's into these props knows that this pattern, and I mean this plastic, is no longer available. It's impossible to find. You can't find it anywhere. They stopped making it in the 1970s with this particular pattern, so we have to settle for the modern pattern that they use, and it makes a pretty cool communicator, but it's not the same. So I don't know if you could see the pattern, but there it is. You could see all those little ovals in there, and this is the exact pattern and plastic that Wah Ming Chang used to make his communicators. Okay, and I was very, very lucky to find what I did when I did, and I was able to get a set of communicator shells from that material. Very, very lucky. I haven't found any since, so that was a rare find. Okay, moving on. The radio mic grill. It's the correct 4-hole pattern. If you don't know what I mean by that, visit HeroComm, HeroComm.com. All the information you'll ever want to know about the Star Trek communicator is on that site. It is fantastic. Okay, the knobs, the correct 1960s T-Jet Aurora T-hubs. Okay, they are the right ones and also very difficult to find. The jewels, they're the correct 8-facet Series 2000 Aurora Borealis jewels. All right, also very difficult to find, not easy. The graphic on the inside, it's made from a vintage Edmund Scientific number 4 pattern. Okay, it's not a replica. Also impossible to find. Very, very difficult to find. So we have vintage mic grill, vintage hubs, vintage jewels, vintage graphic, vintage Kydex shells. Now we move to the back of the communicator and we have vintage Velcro. The Velcro used on the original communicator had a certain line pattern to it. So I managed to source Velcro from a 1960s blood pressure machine, and I used that, and it had the correct pattern. It was blue, but I dyed it black, and it came out perfect. If you're wondering about these spots, that's because this is a weathered communicator. I mimicked the same glue spots, the same solder splatter. I used dust to make the shells look aged. I rubbed off some of the ink from the top pattern to make it look worn. So, this is a weathered communicator. So, so I left the glue spots there to make it look a little haphazard. So, anyway, the correct screws are used. 3 stainless steel, 2-56, and 1 brass in the correct spots. All right. Also, now on the inside of the communicator is the correct stopwatch, the correct vintage 1960s stopwatch, which I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to take the screws out real quick for you. Okay, I should have done this beforehand. Sorry. Okay. Okay, and there it is. All right, now as you could see, I mimicked the same hot glue spots and patterns found on the original communicator. Okay, and you could see on the inside there, glue spots are in the same place. Also, on the original communicator, there was a mistake cut on the mid plate right here. I also mimicked that, if you could see it. I made a slight cut there to mimic the mistake on the mid plate. And that's it. The brass linkage connects to the back of the stopwatch, and in between is a latex hose, which allows for the brass linkage to connect to the top of the stopwatch. So we put the shell back on temporarily, and I'll click that on for you so you can see the animation of the stopwatch, of the graphic, I should say. Isn't that great? Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Just to show you something real quick, I think it's worth mentioning. Here's another alpha build I did a while ago. If you look at the graphics, they're quite different. The one on the right is lighter. The one on the left is darker, has better contrast, and you could see the effect a lot better. Don't get me wrong, the one on the right, the replica is quite good for our purposes, and it makes a great, a great replica. But the one on the left is an original Edmund Scientific, so you could see that it's a stark difference. So if you come across a number 4 Edmund Scientific pattern, hold on to it and use it for one of your better builds, because it does make a difference. Okay, this build is idealized, nice and clean. This one is weathered. Okay, and that's it. Okay, we'll shut that off. Oh, hey guy, I know you want to look at it more. Go ahead. It's all right, you can look. How cool is that? Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please post them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Keep on trekking.